My name is Claire Mitchell. I'm 30 years old, and my job is to predict the worst things that could happen for a finance company in Denver. But nothing in my professional life could have prepared me for the short, 10-second voicemail that completely shattered my family. It arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, right as I was reviewing a risk report and sipping on a cold cup of coffee. I tapped play and heard my mom's voice. It was flat and businesslike, as if she were canceling a subscription service, not ending her relationship with her daughter. The message was stark. "You're out. Don't come back. We're moving on without you." There was no explanation, no hint of emotion, just a cold, hard verdict. For a second, I simply stared at my phone, the sound of my own heartbeat echoing in my ears. Then, the part of my brain that spends all day safeguarding other people's money quietly, efficiently, kicked into gear. I didn't call back. I didn't try to argue or plead. Instead, I typed one simple, declarative text. "Okay." Then I moved, and I moved first. My initial action was to log into the family LLC, a limited liability company that I had painstakingly built from the ground up. This entity held our rental properties and the new triplex we were on the verge of purchasing. I immediately locked down every single permission that was associated with my name. No more deals could be signed using my credit. No more financial transfers could be made without my explicit approval. Next, I called the real estate agent and formally withdrew myself from the house deal, the very deal my parents and sister were heavily relying on. That house deal, for them, was now dead in the water. Finally, I froze the entire retirement account structure that I had meticulously set up for them. This ensured that nothing could be altered or drained from those accounts behind my back. By the time I had finished the last sip of my cold coffee, every easy pathway they thought they had through me had been systematically closed off. I genuinely believed that would be the end of it. However, I was mistaken. By the very next morning, my phone was buzzing incessantly, vibrating itself toward the edge of my nightstand. For a fleeting second, I thought it was my alarm. But then I saw the screen, 46 missed calls. The callers included my mom, my dad, and a string of unknown numbers. One call was from a law office I immediately recognized. The latest notification was a new voicemail, this time from their lawyer. I put in my earbuds and pressed play, simultaneously starting the coffee machine. The voice was Evan Coleman's, legal counsel for Mark and Diane Mitchell. "Claire," he began, "we need to talk. This is serious. Please call me back as soon as possible." His voice was tight, in that distinct way lawyers get when they realize their clients have conveniently omitted crucial details. I let the message conclude and stared blankly at the wall for a moment, listening to the rhythmic drip of the coffee maker. My phone continued to light up as new texts streamed in. From Mom, "Claire, this is just a misunderstanding. Call me. We need to talk." From Dad, "Kiddo, whatever happened, we can fix this. Please call us back." Another from Mom, "We didn't mean it like that. We were upset. Come home so we can explain." It struck me as rather ironic, I thought, because just yesterday there had been absolutely no confusion in her voice. "You're out. Don't come back. We're moving on without you." That had sounded remarkably clear to me. I scrolled through the flood of messages, half expecting to see Brooke's name pop up somewhere. Nothing. Not a single text or missed call from my younger sister, who typically flooded our family group chat with trivial updates. For someone who thrived on attention, she was conspicuously silent. While the coffee finished brewing, I opened the building's security app and pulled up the camera feed for our front entrance. I did this almost on autopilot. The screen displayed a clip from earlier that morning. My dad, standing outside the glass door of my apartment building, hands jammed deep into his jacket pockets, gazing up at my unit on the second floor. He checked his phone, hesitated as if he were about to ring the buzzer, then simply turned and walked away. No call, no knock, just a quiet retreat. My chest tightened for half a second, but I quickly suppressed the feeling. When people show you how easily they can cut you off, you do not rush to comfort them when they experience the sharp sting of that same knife swinging back in their direction. On my commute to work, my phone vibrated continuously in my bag. I allowed it to. Once at my desk, I finally dispatched 3 concise replies. To Mom, "I'm safe, I need time." To Dad, "I heard the voicemail, I'm not ready to talk." To the lawyer, "I received your message, I will respond in writing." I felt no obligation to provide anyone with more than that. A little before lunch, my coworker Jenna rolled her chair over to my desk, lowering her voice. "You've been staring at that screen like you're about to make it self-destruct," she observed. "Everything okay at home?" I almost said yes out of habit but caught myself. "Not really. My parents decided I'm out of the family business." Her eyebrows shot up. "Do they realize you are the family business?" I shrugged. "They left a voicemail. I locked things down. Now their lawyer is involved." Jenna let out a slow whistle. "Look, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you know how this game is played. The second money gets involved, everyone starts putting on a performance. If you make moves out of guilt, they'll twist that into you admitting fault. Make sure every single decision you make is something you'd be perfectly comfortable explaining to a judge one day." I nodded. That particular aspect I understood better than anyone. Risk management was, after all, my profession. I had spent years meticulously building systems designed to prevent people from quietly moving money around behind each other's backs. And now, with a chilling clarity, I realized I had inadvertently constructed the perfect system to prevent my own family from doing the very same thing to me. As I walked to the break room to refill my coffee cup, my phone buzzed again. A new text, this time from an unknown number. "Heard you pulled out of the triplex because you're overwhelmed. You okay?" It was a cousin from my dad's side of the family. "Overwhelmed?" That was unequivocally not my word. It sounded precisely like something Brooke would utter while blinking back carefully feigned tears. The pieces of the puzzle began to click into place in my mind. The timing of her recent job loss in marketing. The way she had suddenly started throwing around phrases like streamline the LLC and free up equity at Sunday dinners, as if she had ever possessed the slightest interest in spreadsheets before. And of course, the undeniable fact that she was the only one quiet now, like a puppeteer who had already pulled all the strings and was simply waiting off stage to observe the outcome. I stared at my phone, and for the first time I felt the sharp, clean edge of anger, cold and precise, slide into place. If Brooke was truly behind this, if she genuinely believed she could shove me out of something I had built from nothing, and then effortlessly climb into my spot, while our parents blindly played along, then she had chosen the absolute wrong sister with whom to pick a financial fight. 2 days later, I attempted to inject a semblance of normalcy into my life by engaging in a painfully ordinary Saturday ritual, visiting my local coffee shop. It was the kind of establishment where the barista knew your regular order by heart and the regulars discussed hiking trails and fluctuating housing prices. I had just collected my latte when I heard someone call my name. "Claire, hey." I turned and saw Tom Reynolds, one of my dad's old friends from the garage where he used to work. He clapped me on the shoulder, feigning an air of casualness. "Heard about the triplex?" he asked, lowering his voice conspiratorially as if about to impart a secret. "Tough stuff," I frowned. "What about it?" he winced. "Just what your mom and Brooke were saying in the family group chat, that you pulled out because work pressure got to you. That you were overwhelmed and it wasn't a good time for you mentally." He pronounced mentally in that hushed tone people adopt when they're too afraid to explicitly say, had a breakdown. I felt my jaw clench. Overwhelmed. There it was again. I forced a smile so tight it felt like it might genuinely crack. "Yeah, well, you know how rumors tend to travel," I said, my voice betraying nothing. Tom patted my arm, told me to take care of myself, and wandered off toward the sugar station. I exited the shop before my face could betray the true depth of my emotions. Outside, in the crisp Denver air, I pulled out my phone and scrolled back through my messages. Not a single call from Brooke, not one text. Yet somehow, she felt perfectly comfortable informing extended family members that I was too unstable to handle a house deal that I had, to all intents and purposes, engineered myself. That wasn't mere gossip. That was deliberate groundwork. Sitting in my car, I opened my contacts and tapped a name I hadn't accessed in months. Daniel Hayes, the financial advisor who had initially helped me establish the original structure for our family LLC, before my parents, under Brooke's subtle influence, had switched to someone newer and flashier. Daniel answered on the second ring. "Claire, this is a surprise," he said, a note of pleasant surprise in his voice. "Still keeping everyone out of trouble." "Working on it," I replied. "I have a question. Has anyone tried to change ownership percentages in Mitchell Holdings LLC recently?" There was a brief pause, the kind where you can almost hear someone straightening up in their chair. I've seen some draft documents floating around, he said slowly. Your mom mentioned a new advisor, asked a few hypotheticals, but I saw references to adding another family member as a managing member, and your signature line was conspicuously blank. It looked messy, so I told her nothing could proceed without your involvement. My grip tightened involuntarily on the steering wheel. Another family member, Brooke, of course. Did any of it actually go through? I pressed. No, he confirmed. The paperwork was incomplete and, frankly, highly questionable. But Claire, if someone is actively trying to backdoor their way into control of your LLC, you absolutely need to get ahead of it. I thanked him, hung up, and stared at the dashboard for a long moment. I thought about the voicemail, the one that so coldly informed me I was out. I thought about Tom parroting the word overwhelmed. I thought about my mom's sudden insistence on a new advisor immediately after Brooke had lost her job. This was not a random series of events. This was a calculated plan, built on a shaky legal foundation and layered with a heavy dose of emotional manipulation. A new notification popped up on my phone screen as I sat there, from Brooke. Finally. What do you think you're doing, Claire? Pulling out of the house deal, freaking everyone out, locking down accounts. This is a mess, and you are making it worse. For a second, my fingers hovered over the keyboard. I almost unleashed every single thought and emotion that was boiling inside my head. Instead, I deleted the draft reply and opened my email. First, I composed a message to the real estate agent. Per our recent conversation, please consider this email as formal written confirmation that I have fully withdrawn from the Mitchell triplex purchase as both a borrower and the primary financial qualifier. Any further representation that I am actively participating in this transaction is unequivocally inaccurate and unauthorized. I then requested that a formal cancellation notice be sent to my parents, with a copy explicitly sent to their lawyer. Next, I opened a new message. This time, it was addressed directly to Brooke, but I crafted it with the precise, detached tone of a risk escalation email I would typically send at work. Brooke, this email serves as formal notice that any attempt to alter ownership, signature authority, or the financial structure related to Mitchell Holdings LLC, its associated properties, or its retirement accounts without my explicit written consent is unauthorized and may constitute fraud. Do not sign my name. Do not imply my approval. Any such action will be thoroughly documented and shared with legal counsel. Claire. No yelling, no name-calling, just cold, hard facts and clear, undeniable consequences. I sent it, then deliberately turned my phone face down on the passenger seat. By the time I drove home, my call log showed 6 more missed attempts from Mom, 3 from Dad, and still none from Brooke. At my apartment, I opened my laptop and created a new folder, labeling it Family Risk File. I meticulously dragged in screenshots of texts, the lawyer's voicemail, Daniel's detailed notes, and the email I had just sent. Every single move, every lie, every insidious attempt to portray me as unstable was going into that folder. Because if Brooke was actively constructing a narrative where I was the problem, where I was the weak link to be ruthlessly cut out so she could effortlessly slide into my spot, then I was going to construct a far superior narrative, one backed by irrefutable timestamps and undeniable evidence. And as I watched the files accumulate on my screen, I couldn't help but wonder how many families implode like this, because one person values the convenient comfort of a lie less than the raw, uncomfortable truth, and finds solace in the role of victim they've been rehearsing their entire lives. 3 days later, an unknown number flashed on my screen in the middle of a complex spreadsheet I was working on. I almost let it go to voicemail until I saw the name of the financial firm. This is Claire. Hi, Claire. This is Jason Liu, your parents' new financial advisor, he said. I just need to go over some discrepancies in the Mitchell retirement structure. That word, discrepancies, made me sit up straighter. He explained that he had been reviewing the LLC and retirement accounts and had noticed draft forms that indicated Brooke was being added as a co-trustee or managing member, with my name referenced as having approved these changes, but with no actual signature from me. To be clear, Jason, I stated unequivocally, I have not approved anything. I haven't signed a single thing since the day I originally set it up. Jason sighed. I figured. Your family is operating under the impression that you've stepped away, and that these proposed changes are what you genuinely desire. The word overwhelmed surfaced in his explanation. From a compliance standpoint, however, I absolutely needed your direct confirmation. Treat every single request as unauthorized unless you personally see my live signature, I instructed him firmly. If someone claims otherwise, demand written proof. You won't get any. After we hung up, my cousin Megan called. Are you okay? She blurted out, concern evident in her voice. Because the way Brooke has been talking, it sounds like you're completely falling apart. I asked what exactly Brooke was saying. That you pulled out of the triplex because of anxiety, that you hoard control of the LLC, that you threatened to cut mom and dad off financially, Megan recounted. Now she's even posting online about abusive power in families. None of that is true, I stated flatly. Megan lowered her voice. I didn't think so. It doesn't sound like the Claire who paid for their roof. I just wanted you to know what was being said. Thanks. Screenshot it if you feel like it. Otherwise, don't feed her audience. We hung up. A second later, an email thread popped into my inbox. Subject: Mitchell Triplex Purchase Update. It was from our agent Susan, with my parents, Brooke, and Evan, the lawyer, all copied. Quoted under her reply was Brooke's original message. Susan, as we discussed, Claire has pulled out due to personal mental health struggles. We need to move forward without her. Please respect her limitations. Brooke had written, her words dripping with a caring tone that made my skin crawl. Susan's actual reply was crisp and professional. Thank you, Brooke. For liability purposes, I'll require written confirmation directly from Claire and will pause the file for now. I started typing before the initial wave of anger could soften. Hi, Susan, I wrote. Attached is my written withdrawal from 2 days ago and the pre-approval documents. I am not exiting due to mental health struggles. I am withdrawing because I no longer consent to my name, credit, or income being used under the current family circumstances. Any other description of my decision is inaccurate. Thanks for pausing the file. Claire. I copied Evan and Jason and attached every piece of evidence proving I had been the driving force behind the deal from day one. Susan replied quickly to the smaller group. Understood. I will ignore Brooke's prior message and will only act on instructions that come directly from you. A quiet email followed from Evan. Received. We should talk about next steps. That night, an envelope was taped to my apartment door, addressed in my mom's familiar handwriting. Inside, on lined paper, she had written, We love you. We were emotional. Please call us so we can fix this before it goes too far. Love, Mom. For a second, my chest ached. I could vividly picture her at the kitchen table, while Brooke paced and cried dramatically, meticulously orchestrating the story. My phone buzzed again. Megan had sent a screenshot of Brooke's newest social media post. Sometimes the most dangerous person in a family is the one who controls all the money and punishes you when you don't obey, it read. Healing means walking away from people who weaponize their power, even if they share your last name. The comments section was predictably overflowing with hearts and you go, girl messages. I placed the note from my mom next to my laptop and opened the folder labeled Family Risk File. Emails, voicemails, advisor notes, screenshots, all lined up in neat, irrefutable rows. Up until now, my actions had been purely defensive, simply shutting doors. As I watched the files stack up, I realized defense alone wasn't going to be enough. If Brooke truly intended to construct a narrative where I was the villain, I was going to respond with something she absolutely couldn't spin. A simple, meticulously documented story that would leave her standing utterly alone in the harsh light of truth. The next morning, while I was at my desk, my phone buzzed with a new text from my mom. Just 5 words. Just 5 minutes, no arguing, please. I stared at it. 5 minutes wasn't going to mend the wound of a voicemail that had unequivocally told me don't come back, but it sounded more genuinely like her than anything she had sent in weeks. Call me, I wrote back. She answered immediately, and I heard the faint, telltale speakerphone echo. Your dad is here, too, she said. Hey, kiddo, Mark added, his voice tentative. You wanted 5 minutes, I stated, keeping my tone even. Mom exhaled audibly. We messed up, Claire, saying, you're out, don't come back. That was extreme. We shouldn't have said it like that. You didn't, I countered. You said exactly that. She fell silent for a moment, then tried again. Your sister told us things. She said that you were planning to cut us out of the LLC, talking to lawyers about removing us from retirement accounts, saying you were tired of carrying us and wanted full control. She said you told her after dinner in the car. None of that ever happened, I said. Did you hear those words from me directly? Well, no, Mom admitted. Brooke said you talked in the car on the way home. I took my own car that night, I said. I left alone, there was no car ride. Dad swore softly. Why would she make that up? Mom whispered, but her voice held a tone that suggested she already knew the answer. Maybe because she wanted what I have, I suggested. If I'm portrayed as unstable and power-hungry, then sliding herself into financial documents looks like she's protecting you, not using you. Dad sighed. This has gone beyond simple family drama now. Evan called. Jason called you. Susan paused the house deal. I know, I said. That's why I'm done with whispers and veiled accusations. We're going to sit down, all four of us, in the same room. No speakerphone, no vague social media posts. I'll bring documents. You bring everything Brooke told you. Then we'll see what story survives that level of scrutiny. Do we have to involve lawyers? Mom asked, her voice laced with apprehension. They're already involved, I replied. The real question is whether they see Brooke's fabricated story first or the irrefutable evidence. When? Dad asked, resignation in his tone. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. at the house, I said. If Brooke won't come, that in itself is an answer. The next evening, I walked into my parents' living room carrying a thick, unassuming folder under my arm. The same beige couch, the same framed school photos adorning the walls, but the atmosphere was completely, irrevocably different. My parents sat together on the sofa, their posture tense. Brooke perched in an armchair, a tissue clutched in her hand like a carefully chosen prop. She steadfastly avoided my gaze. Thanks for coming, Dad said, his voice quiet. I placed the folder and my phone deliberately on the coffee table. Just so we're absolutely clear, I stated, nothing about this conversation is off the record in my head. If anyone lies, I won't keep it a secret. Brooke scoffed, rolling her eyes. Wow, way to make this hostile, Claire, we're family. Then the truth shouldn't scare anyone, I retorted calmly. Mom twisted her hands nervously. Brooke, honey, tell Claire what you told us. No, I interrupted gently. Brooke can speak for herself. Go ahead. Brooke rolled her eyes again. I just repeated what you said, she snapped defensively. That you were done carrying everything, that you were thinking of pulling your name off things, that you wanted full control of the LLC so you didn't have to consult them. And this was in the car after dinner, right? I asked, my voice flat. She nodded. Yeah, you were upset. You probably don't even remember. I opened the folder, pulled out a printed statement, and slid it across the coffee table toward her. That night at Harbor Grill, right? Check the timestamps. Mom's eyes moved slowly down the page. Brooke's rideshare receipt to their house was timestamped 10:15 p.m. My gas station charge across town was timestamped 10:13 p.m. Different routes, different cars, I explained. I drove myself. You took a car alone. There was no car conversation. Maybe it was another night, Brooke interjected quickly, desperation creeping into her voice. Before you say that, I said, flipping to another printout, here's the only other time we all had dinner in the last 3 months. That night you left early to meet friends. I stayed to pay. No private ride then either. Dad leaned back slowly on the couch, his expression hardening. Brooke, he said quietly. She shrugged, feigning nonchalance. Memory is weird. Okay, I was trying to help. I thought she was serious about needing a break. I then laid down the email to Susan, the one confirming my withdrawal, sent before Brooke's mental health story. Then Susan's reply, stating she would ignore anything that didn't come directly from me. Then Jason's note about the draft documents, with my name referenced but conspicuously unsigned. Then the screenshots of Brooke's self-pitying social media posts and Megan's worried messages. One by one, the pages built an undeniable, damning timeline, tracing a direct line from my mother's cold voicemail to this very couch. Mom finally turned to Brooke, her voice barely a whisper. You told us you saw emails, she said, disbelief warring with pain in her eyes. You told us Claire said she was done with us. Brooke sat up straighter, adopting an injured tone. So now you just believe her because she printed things? She's always liked control. She's twisting everything to make me look crazy. Dad fixed his gaze on Brooke, his voice firm. The truth doesn't fall apart when you hold it next to a gas receipt, he stated. Yours did. That is the fundamental difference. For the first time since I'd walked into the room, Brooke looked genuinely shaken. Her eyes flicked to me, searching, pleading for some old version of me who might offer a lifeline. I didn't. Mark took a deep breath. "Here's what we're going to do," he announced, falling into the firm, decisive tone he used to employ at his old shop. "Claire, you, Evan, and Jason will figure out whatever steps are necessary to make the LLC and the retirement accounts absolutely bulletproof. You and I will remain the only managing members. Your mom will be a beneficiary. Brooke will not be in any position of control anywhere within these structures. If we help her financially, it will be directly from our own pockets, not by opening back doors into what you painstakingly built." Brooke sat forward abruptly. "You can't just erase me like that," she cried, her voice rising in pitch. "I'm your daughter, too." My mom winced. "We are not erasing you," she said, her voice softer but resolute. "We're stopping pretending that money we don't actually have is simply going to fall from the sky because we put your name on something Claire created. If we ever help you, it will be because you have a genuine plan and we can actually afford to help, not because we feel guilty." Brooke switched tactics with astonishing speed, a maneuver that almost made my head spin. "Fine," she said, tears suddenly welling up in her eyes. "Then let me prove it, Claire. Give me a small role in the LLC. Let me do social media or something. Let me show you I can contribute instead of just taking." It was almost impressive, the way she effortlessly slid from outrage to desperate pleading to an angle that made her appear the most reasonable and sympathetic. A year ago, I might have fallen for it. Now, I simply recognized another iteration of the same destructive pattern. I stood up, picking up my folder. "No," I said simply. "If you want to prove you can build something, you don't do it by attempting to wire yourself into what someone else has already built. You do it by starting with nothing, just like I did." My mom looked between us, her expression troubled. "Claire, isn't that a little harsh?" she asked softly. I shook my head. "Harsh was being told I was out and should not come back," I stated. "Harsh was having my stability and character used as a prop to garner sympathy online. This, Mom, is just boundaries. There's a fundamental difference." Brooke glared at me, her face contorted. "You are going to regret this," she hissed, her voice low and venomous. "You think you can cut me off and just walk away clean?" I picked up my phone and slid it securely into my bag. "No," I said. "I think I can protect what I have rightfully earned and stop you from relentlessly turning my hard work into your personal safety net. Whatever happens to you after that is not, and will never be, on me." On my way out, my dad walked me to the front door. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, his voice heavy with regret. "For the voicemail, for not asking you first, for letting it get this far. I believed what was easiest to hear." I nodded, feeling a complicated, bittersweet mix of relief and profound sadness wash over me. "I know," I said, "but believing the easy story doesn't mean the consequences are easy, too." Over the next week, the shifts became concrete, undeniable realities. Jason sent over the revised drafts, with only my name and Mark's name in the control positions. Evan scheduled a meeting where my parents formally signed documents that rigorously limited who could ever touch their accounts. I meticulously updated the LLC operating agreement to explicitly state that no new managing member could be added without the unanimous written consent from all existing ones. There was no longer any hidden line, any subtle loophole where Brooke's name could even be penciled in later. When the last signature dried, I felt something profound settle into place. Not revenge as a dramatic, explosive moment, but revenge as a carefully constructed system. A robust structure in which the person who had so arrogantly tried to push me out no longer had any conceivable way in. A few days after that, Brooke showed up at my office unannounced, her eyes wide and red-rimmed, asking the receptionist for me. She was holding a binder, the kind you typically bring to pitch a polished project. I met her in the lobby, my arms crossed. "I have a business plan," she said, thrusting the binder toward me. "Events, brand partnerships, influencer collaborations. If you just invest a little, Claire, I can pay you back and prove everyone wrong." I didn't take the binder. "Start it without me," I said. "If it works, you won't need my money. If it doesn't, you'll understand precisely why I said no." Her face crumpled, anger and raw panic fiercely battling for dominance. "You're really not going to help me?" she whispered, the question laced with disbelief. "Not after everything." I thought of Daniel's warning, Jason's caution, Megan's damning screenshots, my mom's desperate note, my dad's quiet, heartfelt apology, and that singular voicemail that had initiated this entire upheaval. I'm done helping people set themselves on fire with my gasoline, I said, my voice firm and unwavering. Then I turned and walked back through the secured door to my floor, leaving her, her binder, and all of her almosts permanently on the other side. A month later, I stood in the driveway of a pale brick triplex on the edge of Denver, holding a box of kitchen essentials and watching my parents good-naturedly argue about the ideal spot for a bird feeder. The bottom unit was officially theirs now, legally secured with a clause that guaranteed they could live there for the rest of their lives without anyone being able to touch it. My unit was on the second floor, sunlight streaming through its large windows. The third unit was already listed for rent. The financial numbers, meticulously calculated, penciled out perfectly in a spreadsheet only I controlled. Mitchell Holdings LLC, the very entity Brooke had so brazenly attempted to slide into, was now leaner, cleaner, and more robust. It was just my dad and me as the managing members, my mom as a beneficiary, and more stringent safeguards than any amount of family drama could ever dislodge. No hidden side doors, no room for creative, self-serving interpretations. On weekend evenings, I would often come downstairs and cook with my mom in her new kitchen, while my dad contentedly watched some car show in the living room. We didn't rehash every painful detail of the past, but we had stopped pretending that money was some mysterious, ethereal fog that nobody truly understood. Instead, I would pull up the accounts on my laptop and walk them through what was real, rather than what they merely wished was real. It wasn't perfect. There were still lingering sad moments, still flickers of guilt in their eyes when Brooke's name inevitably came up. But now, when she texted asking for help with yet another maxed-out credit card, my mom would show me the message, then calmly set her phone face down and say, "We can't fix this for her. Not this way." From what I heard through various cousins, Brooke eventually ended up in a small apartment across town, bouncing between a series of temporary gigs. Her grand event planning business never quite managed to take off. People were slowly beginning to realize that her stories consistently required both a villain and a dramatic spotlight. For once, I was squarely in neither role. I did not sue her. I did not attempt to destroy her online. I did something far quieter, and to me, infinitely sharper. I systematically removed the leverage she mistakenly believed she possessed and allowed her to sit with a life that was solely hers, not propped up by my relentless hard work. I was no longer angry. I was clear. Clear that blind trust without firm boundaries is merely an open invitation for the wrong person to move in and completely rearrange everything you've built. Clear that being the strong one in a family does not mean passively allowing people to weaponize your strength against you. If there is any overarching lesson to be gleaned from all of this, it is that you can love your family fiercely and still unequivocally refuse to be their personal insurance policy when they gamble carelessly with the truth. You can offer forgiveness without handing back the keys to your meticulously built kingdom. And if someone ever looks you in the eye and tells you, "You're out, don't come back," you are absolutely allowed to believe them. Step back. And then ask yourself a harder, more profound question. What do I stop giving them access to from this precise moment on? Perhaps you, too, have your own version of this story. A time when someone shamelessly used your unwavering loyalty like a credit card with no discernible limit. If you do, I sincerely hope you learn faster than I did that saying no is not an act of revenge. It is an act of profound self-respect. And sometimes, that is the only thing truly worth protecting, even more than the house itself.